Recovered fragments from Martian data vaults and secondary archive nodes describe repeated visual captures of heavily augmented Skitarii formations operating in synchronized advanced patterns. The picked feeds, degraded by radiation interference and time decay, show humanoid figures moving with a degree of mechanical precision exceeding baseline Skitarii cohorts. Their silhouettes are narrower, optimized, with elongated limb ratios and reduced unnecessary mass. Observers note abrupt directional shifts executed without visible hesitation, accompanied by near-instantaneous target acquisition. In multiple instances, hostile combatants are neutralized before auditory detection registers their presence. Accompanying telemetry logs reference neural synchronization spikes and command signal compression beyond standard Skitarii doctrinal thresholds. The data suggests that these units operate within a tightly controlled command lattice, likely overseen by a central authority node. Field reports from surviving Imperial Guard observers indicate that these formations do not exhibit conventional hesitation, fear responses, or morale fluctuation. Instead, they display what has been described as predictive aggression, engaging targets based on projected movement rather than current position. Further analysis of battlefield residue reveals fragments of advanced augmetic components, including subdermal fiber bundles and reinforced skeletal plating integrated at a molecular level. Energy signatures associated with their weapon discharges are consistent with high-efficiency plasma and arc-based systems, though modified for sustained deployment without catastrophic overheating. Notably, several recovered data slates contain encrypted command hierarchies, referencing a control designation above standard alpha or prime ranks. Cross-referencing these fragments with Mechanicus doctrinal records and surviving Forge World archives identifies a specialized command figure embedded within certain Sicarian kill clades. This figure is not merely a battlefield overseer, but a central processing authority, capable of directing multiple units with near-instantaneous responsiveness. The designation appears consistently across fragmented sources, often associated with enhanced autonomy and elevated machine spirit integration. The compiled evidence, though incomplete, converges on a singular archetype within the Sicarian hierarchy, a commander not defined solely by rank, but by function, acting as both strategist and execution node within a networked combat organism. This entity represents a convergence of human cognition and machine precision, operating beyond the limitations of standard Skitarii command structures. This designation is identified within surviving archives as the Sicarian Princeps. The origins of the Sicarian Princeps are inseparable from the broader development of the Skitarii Legions under the authority of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These cybernetic soldiers, drawn from the populations of Forge Worlds, undergo extensive augmentation to transform them into efficient instruments of war. The process strips away much of their biological limitation, replacing it with mechanical precision and doctrinal obedience. Within this system, specialization is not optional but required, leading to the emergence of distinct operational roles. Sicarian units represent one of the most advanced iterations of Skitarii evolution. Recruited from individuals who demonstrate high compatibility with invasive augmentation, these operatives undergo procedures that fundamentally alter their physiology. Their skeletal structures are reinforced with lightweight alloys, their musculature replaced or supplemented with synthetic fiber bundles capable of rapid contraction, and their neural pathways rewired to support accelerated data processing. Sensory organs are either enhanced or replaced entirely, granting them heightened perception across multiple spectrums. The transformation process is neither uniform nor entirely predictable. Not all candidates survive the augmentation stages, and among those who do, only a fraction exhibit the required stability to function as Sicarian operatives. Those who succeed are categorized into specialized subtypes, each optimized for a specific form of warfare. Within this structure, the need for centralized coordination becomes increasingly critical, as individual units operate at speeds and efficiency levels that exceed conventional command methods. The emergence of the Princeps designation appears to be a direct response to this requirement. Unlike standard Skitarii leaders, who rely on hierarchical command chains and delayed signal propagation, the Sicarian Princeps operates as an integrated control node. Their neural architecture is modified to handle vast streams of data, allowing them to process battlefield information and issue commands in real time. This capability effectively reduces the latency between observation and action, enabling entire units to function as a cohesive system. Early records from Forge worlds such as Mars and Metallica indicate experimental attempts to create such command figures during the later stages of Skitarii doctrinal refinement. These experiments involved the integration of advanced cogitator systems directly into the subject's neural framework, effectively merging human consciousness with machine logic. The results were inconsistent, with many subjects experiencing catastrophic system failures or cognitive collapse. However, incremental improvements in augmentation technology and data integration techniques eventually yielded viable candidates. These individuals demonstrated an unprecedented ability to maintain stability while processing large volumes of information. Their presence on the battlefield resulted in measurable increases in unit efficiency, target acquisition speed, and overall mission success rates. The physical form of a Sicarian Princeps reflects their function. While retaining the general silhouette of a Sicarian operative, their bodies incorporate additional augmentation layers designed to support their expanded role. Cranial structures are often enlarged or reinforced to house advanced processing units, while spinal columns are modified to accommodate high-capacity data conduits. External cabling and interface ports are common, allowing direct connection to auxiliary systems and allied units. Despite these enhancements, the Princeps remains fundamentally humanoid, a necessity for maintaining compatibility with existing Skitarii frameworks. Their movements retain the fluidity and speed characteristic of Sicarian units, though often accompanied by subtle mechanical adjustments indicative of continuous data processing. Observers frequently report a sense of unnatural coordination in their actions, as if each movement is calculated with precise intent. The early deployment of Sicarian Princeps units marked a significant shift in Mechanicus warfare doctrine. Instead of relying solely on numerical superiority or overwhelming firepower, these formations emphasized efficiency and coordination. Small groups of Sicarians, directed by a Princeps, were capable of achieving objectives that would otherwise require significantly larger forces. This efficiency made them particularly valuable in environments where resources were limited or rapid response was essential. As their effectiveness became evident, the use of Sicarian Princeps expanded across multiple Forge worlds. Each implementation reflected slight variations in design and methodology, influenced by local doctrines and available technology. Some Forge worlds prioritized increased autonomy, allowing their Princeps units to operate with minimal oversight. Others maintained stricter control, integrating them more tightly into existing command hierarchies. The process of selecting candidates for Princeps augmentation remained highly selective. Individuals were evaluated not only for physical compatibility, but also for cognitive resilience. The ability to withstand the integration of machine logic without losing functional coherence was critical. Those who failed to meet these criteria were either reassigned to less demanding roles or subjected to further modification in an attempt to salvage their utility. Over time, the Sicarian Princeps became a recognized, though relatively rare, element within the Skitarii Legions. Their presence on the battlefield often signaled a level of operational complexity beyond standard engagements. Enemy forces encountering such units frequently reported difficulty adapting to their tactics, as traditional strategies proved ineffective against opponents capable of near-instantaneous coordination. The development of the Sicarian Princeps also reflects broader trends within the Adeptus Mechanicus. The pursuit of efficiency, the integration of human and machine, and the constant refinement of warfare techniques are all evident in their design. They embody the Mechanicus ideal of transcending biological limitation through technological enhancement, achieving a state where thought and action are no longer constrained by organic delay. While detailed records of individual Princeps units are limited, the available data suggests that each functions as a unique convergence of human and machine elements. Their experiences, though filtered through layers of augmentation, contribute to their operational effectiveness. In some cases, fragments of pre-augmentation identity persist, influencing decision-making in subtle ways. However, these remnants are typically secondary to the overriding imperative of efficiency and mission completion. The early history of the Sicarian Princeps is therefore one of experimentation, refinement, and gradual integration into established doctrines. From uncertain beginnings marked by failure and instability, they have become a critical component of specialized Mechanicus operations. Their existence highlights the ongoing evolution of Skitarii forces and the relentless drive of the Adeptus Mechanicus to optimize every aspect of warfare. As the Imperium continues to face threats across countless fronts, the role of such advanced units remains significant. The Sicarian Princeps stands as both a product of technological ambition and a tool of calculated precision, bridging the gap between individual capability and collective efficiency. The functional identity of the Sicarian Princeps is defined not only by origin, but by a collection of engineered traits that distinguish it from all other Skitarii designations. These distinctions are not cosmetic or symbolic. They exist as deliberate enhancements intended to support a role that merges command authority with direct combat execution. Every aspect of the Princeps form reflects the necessity of maintaining control over rapidly moving, highly specialized kill clades, while remaining fully capable of operating as an individual combatant within the same operational tempo. Physically, the Sicarian Princeps shares the foundational structure of other Sicarian operatives, though closer inspection reveals layered modifications that extend beyond standard configurations. The average height ranges between 1.8 to 2.1 meters depending on Forge World variation, with total mass fluctuating due to the density of internal augmetics rather than external bulk. Their frame is deliberately streamlined, favouring speed and balance over raw durability. Internal skeletal reinforcement uses lightweight alloy composites bonded directly to remaining organic bone, creating a structure that can withstand high-velocity movement and abrupt directional changes without structural compromise. Musculature is largely synthetic, composed of electroreactive fibre bundles that contract at speeds significantly exceeding baseline human capability. These fibres are arranged to maximise acceleration and stability, allowing the Princeps to execute rapid lunges, vertical displacements, and sustained sprinting without fatigue in the biological sense. The absence of traditional muscular strain enables repeated high-intensity actions that would incapacitate unaugmented organisms. The cranial structure of the Princeps is among its most defining features. Unlike standard Sicarians, whose neural augmentations are substantial but limited to combat processing, the Princeps incorporates expanded cogitator arrays embedded within and around the skull. These systems serve as both processors and relays, enabling the Princeps to manage multiple data streams simultaneously. External housings may appear as reinforced cranial plates or segmented helm structures, often incorporating sensor clusters capable of multispectrum analysis, including infrared, ultraviolet, and electromagnetic detection. Vision systems are typically compound in nature, integrating multiple optical feeds into a unified perception field. This allows the Princeps to track numerous targets at once, while maintaining situational awareness across a wide arc. Targeting reticles are overlaid directly into the visual cortex, eliminating the delay between observation and response. In practice, this results in engagement speeds that appear instantaneous to external observers. One of the most significant traits of the Sicarian Princeps is its command link capability. Embedded along the spine and within the thoracic cavity are high-capacity data transmitters and receivers, forming the backbone of its control network. Through these systems, the Princeps maintains continuous communication with subordinate Sicarians, issuing directives that are received and executed with minimal latency. This connection is not merely auditory or symbolic. It is a direct data exchange, often described in Mechanicus records as a form of distributed cognition. This distributed cognition allows the Princeps to function as both an individual and a collective node. While each subordinate unit retains its own processing capability, the Princeps can override, redirect, or synchronize their actions as required. This results in coordinated maneuvers that would be impossible under traditional command structures. Movements are timed to fractions of a second, attack patterns are adjusted dynamically, and unit positioning is optimized continuously based on evolving battlefield conditions. In addition to command functions, the Princeps possesses enhanced predictive algorithms. These systems analyze incoming data to project probable enemy actions, effectively allowing the Princeps to engage targets before they have fully committed to a movement. This capability is not infallible, but it significantly increases the likelihood of successful engagements, particularly in close-quarters combat where reaction time is critical. The external armour of the Sicarian Princeps is designed to balance protection with mobility. Composed of layered ceramite and advanced composite materials, it provides resistance against small arms fire, shrapnel, and environmental hazards without imposing excessive weight. The armour is often segmented, allowing for a full range of motion while maintaining coverage of critical systems. Joint areas are reinforced with flexible plating and energy dispersive materials to reduce vulnerability. Integrated within the armour are numerous microsystems that support the Princeps in its role. These include internal temperature regulation, damage monitoring, and limited self-repair capabilities. While not capable of full regeneration, these systems can mitigate minor damage and maintain operational status in conditions that would otherwise degrade performance. The weapon systems employed by a Sicarian Princeps vary depending on subtype classification and Forge World doctrine, but certain patterns are consistently observed. Infiltrator pattern Princeps units commonly wield flechette blasters and taser goads. The flechette blaster is a compact rapid-fire weapon that discharges a spread of microprojectiles at high velocity. These projectiles are designed to penetrate light armour and cause widespread internal damage, making them effective against infantry targets. The taser goad serves as both a melee weapon and a control instrument. It delivers high-voltage electrical discharges capable of disrupting neural activity and disabling mechanical systems. In the hands of a Princeps, the taser goad is used with precision, targeting critical points to incapacitate enemies quickly. Its reach and flexibility allow for both offensive and defensive applications, including parrying incoming attacks and creating openings for follow-up strikes. Ruststalker pattern Princeps units, when present, are typically equipped with transonic blades and cord claws. Transonic blades operate by vibrating at frequencies that weaken molecular bonds, allowing them to cut through armour and tissue with minimal resistance. The effect is not purely mechanical, but also destabilizes the target at a structural level, resulting in rapid disintegration upon contact. Cord claws complement this function by providing a secondary means of attack. These claw-like appendages can be used to grasp, tear, or deliver precise strikes to vulnerable areas. In combination, these weapons enable the Princeps to engage multiple targets in close proximity, maintaining offensive momentum without sacrificing control. Additional wargear often includes refractor fields or similar defensive systems, which generate localized energy barriers capable of deflecting or absorbing incoming fire. While not impenetrable, these fields provide critical protection during high-risk engagements, particularly when the Princeps is required to operate at the forefront of combat. Communication and control equipment are further augmented by encrypted Vox systems and data tethers. These allow the Princeps to interface not only with its immediate unit, but also with broader Mechanicus command structures when necessary. In some configurations, the Princeps can relay battlefield data directly to orbiting vessels or Forge World command centers, contributing to larger strategic operations. Mobility enhancements are another defining aspect of the Princeps. Servo-assisted limbs, combined with optimized joint articulation, allow for rapid traversal of complex terrain. Some variants incorporate short-range jump capabilities or magnetic adhesion systems, enabling movement across vertical surfaces or in low-gravity environments. These adaptations ensure that the Princeps can maintain positional advantage regardless of environmental constraints. The integration of all these traits results in a unit that operates at a level of efficiency and coordination unmatched by standard infantry. The Sicarian Princeps is not simply a superior combatant but a force multiplier, amplifying the effectiveness of every unit under its control. Its presence transforms a group of already advanced operatives into a unified system capable of executing complex maneuvers with precision and speed. This synthesis of physical enhancement, advanced weaponry, and integrated command systems defines the Sicarian Princeps as a distinct entity within the Adeptus Mechanicus arsenal. It represents the culmination of efforts to create a combatant that can think, act, and command simultaneously, without the delays inherent in traditional hierarchical structures. In this configuration, the boundary between individual and unit becomes increasingly indistinct. The Princeps does not merely lead, it becomes the central axis around which the entire formation operates, ensuring that every action is aligned with the overarching objective. The behavioral profile of a Sicarian Princeps cannot be evaluated through conventional human standards of personality. What remains of the original individual is neither entirely erased nor fully preserved. Instead, it is filtered, constrained, and restructured through layers of augmentation that prioritize function over identity. The result is a cognitive state that operates with clarity and purpose, but without the emotional variability typically associated with human thought. Residual personality traits, when they persist, tend to manifest in limited and highly controlled forms. These fragments are often tied to pre-augmentation experiences such as prior military service, social conditioning within Forge World hierarchies, or exposure to Mechanicus doctrine. However, such traits are secondary to the dominant framework imposed by the Princeps neural architecture. Emotional responses are dampened or entirely suppressed, particularly those that could interfere with operational efficiency. Fear, hesitation, and doubt are either minimized to negligible levels or removed through conditioning and surgical alteration. What replaces these organic responses is a structured decision-making process governed by logic, probability, and directive prioritization. The Princeps evaluates scenarios based on incoming data, comparing variables against stored tactical models and predictive algorithms. Decisions are made rapidly, often without conscious deliberation in the human sense. This gives the impression of instinct, though it is more accurately described as accelerated computation. Despite this, the Princeps is not devoid of individuality. Variations in cognitive processing, influenced by both biological remnants and differences in augmentation patterns, result in subtle distinctions between units. Some Princeps demonstrate a preference for aggressive engagement, prioritizing rapid neutralization of threats. Others exhibit a more measured approach, emphasizing positioning and control over immediate confrontation. These tendencies are not emotional in nature but are reflective of internal weighting systems that influence decision outcomes. Communication style further illustrates the altered nature of the Princeps' cognition. Verbal interaction, when it occurs, is typically concise and devoid of unnecessary language. Commands are issued in precise terms, often accompanied or replaced entirely by data transmissions. Within the command network, information is shared in compressed formats, allowing subordinate units to interpret and act upon directives with minimal delay. This method of communication reduces ambiguity and ensures that all elements of the formation operate with a unified understanding of objectives. The relationship between a Sicarian Princeps and its subordinate units is not hierarchical in the traditional sense. While the Princeps holds authority, this authority is exercised through integration rather than command alone. Subordinate Sicarians are linked to the Princeps through data channels that allow for continuous feedback and adjustment. This creates a dynamic system in which the Princeps does not simply issue orders, but actively shapes the behavior of the entire unit in real time. From an organizational perspective, the Sicarian Princeps exists within the broader structure of the Adeptus Mechanicus, specifically under the jurisdiction of the Skitarii Legions. These legions are themselves extensions of Forge World authority, operating according to the doctrines and priorities established by their respective tech priests. The Princeps functions as an intermediary layer between high-level command and individual operatives, translating strategic objectives into actionable directives. The authority of the Princeps is therefore both autonomous and dependent. It possesses the capacity to make independent decisions within the scope of its mission parameters, yet it remains bound to the overarching will of the Mechanicus. This duality ensures that while the Princeps can adapt to changing battlefield conditions, it does so in alignment with established doctrine and command intent. In many cases, the Princeps is deployed as part of specialized detachments tasked with objectives requiring precision and coordination. These may include infiltration operations, targeted eliminations, or rapid response engagements. The presence of a Princeps within such a detachment significantly enhances its effectiveness, allowing for complex maneuvers that would be difficult to achieve through conventional means. The integration of the Princeps into Mechanicus command structures also reflects the broader philosophy of the organization. The Adeptus Mechanicus prioritizes efficiency, control, and the accumulation of knowledge. The Princeps embodies these principles, serving as both a tool of war and a repository of operational data. Information gathered during engagements is often transmitted back to Forge World archives, contributing to ongoing research and doctrinal refinement. This continuous feedback loop ensures that each deployment of a Princeps contributes to the evolution of Mechanicus warfare. Lessons learned are incorporated into future designs, leading to incremental improvements in both hardware and software. Over time, this process results in increasingly capable units, each building upon the experiences of its predecessors. However, the reliance on such advanced integration is not without potential limitations. The complexity of the Princeps systems introduces points of vulnerability, particularly in environments where data transmission may be disrupted. Electromagnetic interference, cyber warfare, or damage to key components can degrade performance, reducing the effectiveness of the command network. In such scenarios, the Princeps must rely more heavily on its individual capabilities, operating with reduced support from subordinate units. Additionally, the balance between human cognition and machine processing remains a critical factor. While augmentation enhances performance, it also introduces the risk of instability if not properly managed. Excessive data load, system conflicts, or degradation of biological components can impact functionality. Mechanicus protocols address these risks through regular maintenance, recalibration, and when necessary, replacement of compromised units. The perception of the Sicarian Princeps by other Imperial forces varies. To some, they are highly efficient allies, capable of achieving objectives with minimal resource expenditure. To others, their detached behavior and machine-like precision evoke unease. The absence of recognizable human emotion, combined with their seamless integration into Mechanicus systems, creates a sense of otherness that distinguishes them from more conventional soldiers. Despite these perceptions, the effectiveness of the Princeps is rarely questioned. Their ability to coordinate complex operations, adapt to dynamic conditions, and maintain consistent performance under pressure makes them a valuable asset in a wide range of scenarios. Their presence often serves as an indicator of the importance of a given mission, reflecting the Mechanicus' willingness to commit advanced resources. In evaluating the Sicarian Princeps as a whole, it becomes clear that it represents a convergence of multiple objectives. It is a command unit, a combatant, and a data processor, each role integrated into a single entity. This integration eliminates many of the inefficiencies associated with traditional command structures, allowing for a level of coordination that approaches theoretical optimal performance. At the same time, the Princeps highlights the broader trajectory of Mechanicus development. The gradual replacement of biological limitation with mechanical precision is a defining characteristic of the organization. In the Princeps, this process reaches a point where the distinction between individual and system becomes increasingly blurred. The unit is no longer simply a soldier, but a node within a larger network. its actions defined as much by external inputs as by internal decision-making. This transformation raises questions regarding the nature of identity and autonomy within such systems. While the Princeps retains elements of its original self, these elements are subsumed within a framework designed for efficiency. The result is an entity that operates with purpose and consistency, but with limited capacity for deviation from established parameters. From a functional standpoint, however, this limitation is not a weakness, but an intended feature. By constraining variability, the Mechanicus ensures that the Princeps performs reliably across a wide range of conditions. Predictability in this context is a strength, enabling precise coordination with other elements of the Imperial war machine. In final analysis, the Sicarian Princeps stands as a refined expression of Mechanicus doctrine. It embodies the pursuit of optimized warfare through the integration of human and machine, achieving a balance that maximizes effectiveness while minimizing inefficiency. Its existence reflects both the capabilities and the priorities of the Adeptus Mechanicus, serving as a testament to their ongoing efforts to redefine the limits of combat performance. Within the vast structure of the Imperium, the Sicarian Princeps occupies a specialized but significant role. It is neither the most numerous nor the most visible of its forces, yet its impact is disproportionate to its presence. Through precision, coordination, and relentless efficiency, it exemplifies a form of warfare that is as calculated as it is decisive, operating at the intersection of cognition and machinery, where delay is eliminated and outcome is determined with measured certainty. Records attributed to the Adeptus Administratum and the Adeptus Mechanicus do not approach the Sicarian Princeps as an individual entity, but rather as a functional asset within a broader system of resource allocation and battlefield optimization. The language used in such documents is consistently analytical, reducing the Princeps to quantifiable output, operational efficiency, and logistical impact. Within these records, the value of the Princeps is measured not by presence or symbolic authority, but by measurable improvements in combat performance and resource expenditure. Administratum tallies derived from multiple campaign reports indicate that Sicarian formations operating under a Princeps designation demonstrate a statistically significant increase in mission completion rates when compared to equivalent units lacking such oversight. In controlled comparisons, engagements involving Princeps-led units show reductions in time to objective ranging between 20 and 40%, depending on environmental conditions and enemy resistance levels. Casualty rates within these formations are similarly reduced, with losses often recorded at levels below projected minimum thresholds. These findings are not attributed to increased durability or firepower alone. Instead, the primary factor identified is coordination efficiency. The Princeps' ability to synchronize unit actions in real time results in minimized redundancy, optimized positioning, and reduced exposure to hostile fire. Where standard Skitarii units may require sequential command relay and confirmation, Princeps-led formations execute maneuvers simultaneously, compressing operational timelines and limiting opportunities for enemy counteraction. Mechanicus data logs expand upon these observations with detailed telemetry captured during live deployments. These logs record continuous streams of positional data, targeting vectors, and command inputs, all processed through the Princeps internal systems. Analysis of this data reveals a consistent pattern of predictive engagement, wherein targets are intercepted based on projected movement rather than confirmed location. This approach increases engagement success rates, particularly against fast-moving or evasive adversaries. The logistical implications of these capabilities are considerable. Administratum resource models demonstrate that the deployment of a single Princeps within a Sicarian detachment can offset the need for additional units, effectively reducing overall manpower requirements. In scenarios where rapid response is critical, this reduction translates directly into faster mobilization and lower transport costs. Supply chains are similarly impacted, as fewer units require provisioning, maintenance, and replacement. Maintenance records provide further insight into the operational demands of the Princeps. While their effectiveness is high, the complexity of their systems necessitates increased support compared to standard Skitarii. Routine calibration cycles are shorter, and the integration of advanced cogitator components requires specialized oversight from tech priests trained in high-level augmetic maintenance. Failure to adhere to these maintenance protocols results in measurable degradation of performance, particularly in command link stability and data processing efficiency. Energy consumption is another factor noted within Mechanicus analyses. The Princeps' expanded processing capabilities and continuous data transmission place a sustained load on internal power systems. To mitigate this, most configurations incorporate high-density energy cells supplemented by regenerative systems that capture and recycle kinetic and thermal output. Even with these measures, extended operations without resupply can lead to gradual reduction in processing capacity, necessitating either withdrawal or external support. Despite these requirements, cost-benefit analyses consistently favor the deployment of Princeps units in specialized roles. The initial investment in augmentation and training is offset by long-term gains in efficiency and reduced attrition. Administratum projections suggest that over the course of multiple engagements, a Princeps-led unit will consume fewer total resources than a larger force operating without such coordination. This conclusion is reinforced by historical data, which shows sustained performance advantages across varied combat environments. From an organizational standpoint, the integration of the Sicarian Princeps into existing command structures requires minimal adjustment at higher levels. Strategic directives issued by senior Mechanicus authorities are transmitted to the Princeps, which then translates these directives into actionable commands for its unit. This process reduces the burden on intermediate command layers, allowing for more streamlined communication and faster execution of orders. However, this efficiency introduces a degree of dependency. Administratum reports note that units accustomed to operating under a Princeps may exhibit reduced effectiveness when such leadership is absent. The reliance on centralized coordination can lead to delays or errors when units are forced to revert to standard command protocols. As a result, deployment strategies often ensure that Princeps units are assigned to operations where their presence can be maintained throughout the engagement. Mechanicus impressions of the Princeps extend beyond purely logistical considerations. Within internal communications, there is recognition of the Princeps as a successful implementation of integrated cognition systems. The ability to merge human decision-making with machine-level processing is viewed as a validation of ongoing research into advanced augmentation. Each Princeps serves as both a combat asset and a data source, providing continuous feedback that informs future developments. This perspective is reflected in the emphasis placed on data recovery following engagements. Even in cases where a Princeps unit is lost, efforts are made to retrieve or reconstruct its recorded data. The information contained within its systems is considered valuable, contributing to the refinement of algorithms, hardware design, and tactical doctrine. In this sense, the operational life of a Princeps extends beyond its physical existence, influencing subsequent iterations and deployments. Quantitative models derived from these datasets highlight several consistent performance metrics. Reaction times within Princeps-led units are reduced to fractions of a second, often below the threshold of standard human perception. Target acquisition and engagement cycles are similarly compressed, allowing for rapid neutralization of multiple threats in succession. Movement efficiency, measured as distance traveled relative to objective completion, is optimized through continuous adjustment of positioning and trajectory. These metrics are not static but adapt in response to environmental variables. In urban environments, for example, Princeps units demonstrate increased reliance on vertical movement and cover utilization, exploiting structural features to maintain advantage. In open terrain, emphasis shifts towards speed and formation dispersion, minimizing vulnerability to area of effect weaponry. Across all scenarios, the underlying principle remains consistent: maximize efficiency while minimizing exposure and resource expenditure. Administratum projections also consider the psychological impact of Princeps-led units on both allied and enemy forces, though such considerations are secondary to measurable outcomes. Reports from Imperial Guard units indicate that the presence of highly coordinated Skitarii formations can improve allied morale by demonstrating effective resistance against hostile forces. Conversely, enemy reports, where available, suggest difficulty in adapting to the rapid and precise movements of these units. These observations, while noted, are not central to administratum evaluation. The primary focus remains on quantifiable results, and in this regard the Sicarian Princeps consistently meets or exceeds expectations. Its ability to enhance unit performance, reduce resource consumption, and adapt to diverse combat conditions positions it as a valuable component within the broader framework of Imperial warfare. In summary, the impressions of the Adeptus Administratum and the Adeptus Mechanicus converge on a shared assessment of the Sicarian Princeps as a highly efficient, resource-optimized command entity. Its integration into Skitarii operations yields measurable improvements across multiple metrics, justifying the complexity and cost associated with its deployment. While not without logistical demands, these are outweighed by the benefits it provides, ensuring its continued use in specialized roles where precision and coordination are paramount. Through continuous data collection and analysis, the Princeps contributes not only to immediate operational success, but also to the long-term evolution of Mechanicus doctrine. It stands as both a tool and a template, shaping the future of integrated warfare within the Imperium through its demonstrated capacity for efficiency and control. Documented engagements involving Sicarian Princeps units are rarely recorded as isolated narratives centered on the individual. Instead, they appear within broader campaign logs, embedded in operational summaries and battlefield telemetry, where their presence is inferred through patterns of efficiency, coordination, and outcome. The Adeptus Mechanicus does not prioritize storytelling in its records. It prioritizes results, and within those results, the influence of a Princeps can be identified through measurable deviations from expected combat behavior. One such record originates from a series of suppression actions conducted on a Forge-adjacent Manufactorum world during the closing decades of the 41st millennium. The conflict itself is classified as a localized insurrection, though subsequent analysis suggests the involvement of externally supplied weaponry and logistical coordination beyond what would typically be expected of a planetary uprising. Administratum records note that initial Skitarii deployments encountered resistance exceeding projected thresholds, with insurgent forces utilizing fortified positions and coordinated ambush tactics. The introduction of a Sicarian detachment under the direction of a Princeps marked a distinct shift in engagement patterns. Telemetry logs show an immediate reduction in engagement duration across multiple sectors. Where previous units required sustained firefights to secure Manufactorum corridors, Princeps-led Sicarians advanced through these environments with minimal delay. Movement patterns indicate the use of predictive pathing, with units intercepting hostile elements at choke points before they could establish defensive positions. Combat data from these engagements reveals a consistent pattern of simultaneous multi-vector assaults. Rather than advancing in a single direction, the Sicarian formation divided into smaller elements, each operating under the continuous guidance of the Princeps. These elements converged on key targets in coordinated strikes, overwhelming defenses through precision rather than volume of fire. Casualty reports confirm a significant reduction in Skitarii losses following the deployment of the Princeps, while insurgent forces experience rapid attrition. Recovered fragments from insurgent communication systems provide additional context. Intercepted transmissions describe an inability to anticipate or counter the movements of Mechanicus forces, with multiple reports referencing enemies appearing ahead of expectation or engaging before defensive preparations could be completed. These accounts align with Mechanicus data indicating the use of predictive engagement algorithms by the Princeps. A separate engagement recorded within Mechanicus archives as part of a wider campaign against Xenos incursions further illustrates the operational role of the Sicarian Princeps. The conflict took place across a series of industrial zones where hostile entities demonstrated high mobility and adaptive behaviour. Standard Skitarii units experienced difficulty maintaining consistent engagement, as targets frequently disengaged and repositioned before effective fire could be brought to bear. The deployment of a Princeps-led Sicarian unit altered this dynamic. Data logs show a marked increase in successful engagements against mobile targets, with interception rates rising significantly. The Princeps' ability to process movement patterns and predict likely escape vectors allowed its unit to anticipate and counter enemy maneuvers. Rather than reacting to enemy actions, the Sicarian formation imposed its own operational tempo, forcing hostile elements into disadvantageous positions. Close-quarters combat records from this campaign highlight the integration of weapon systems and coordination. Instances of simultaneous strikes by multiple Sicarians against a single target are recorded, with timing precise enough to prevent any effective response. In several cases, targets were neutralized before completing a single attack cycle, indicating a level of synchronization that exceeded standard combat expectations. Another documented conflict involves the defense of a Forge World orbital facility subjected to boarding actions by hostile forces. The confined environment of the station presented unique challenges, including limited maneuvering space and the risk of structural damage. Initial defensive efforts relied on conventional Skitarii units supported by automated systems, but progress in repelling boarders was slow due to the complexity of the station's layout. The introduction of a Sicarian Princeps unit resulted in a rapid reorganization of defensive operations. Data from internal sensors shows the Princeps mapping the station's corridors and compartments in real time, integrating this information into its command network. Subordinate units were then directed along optimized paths, intercepting boarders at critical junctions and preventing further penetration into key areas. Combat within the station is characterized by short, decisive engagements. The Princeps coordinated ambushes within narrow corridors, utilizing the speed and precision of its units to eliminate threats before they could regroup. Reports indicate that the majority of hostile casualties occurred within seconds of initial contact, with minimal collateral damage to the station itself. This level of control was critical in preserving the integrity of the facility while ensuring its defense. In addition to these confirmed engagements, there exist references to operations that remain partially or entirely unverified. These accounts, often derived from fragmented data or secondary sources, suggest the use of Sicarian Princeps units in missions involving high-value target elimination and covert infiltration. While details are limited, the patterns described are consistent with known capabilities of the Princeps. One such account describes a coordinated strike against a rogue tech priest enclave accused of heretical experimentation. According to available records, a Sicarian unit infiltrated the enclave's defences and neutralized key personnel within a narrow time frame. The speed and precision of the operation reportedly prevented the activation of defensive protocols, allowing Mechanicus authorities to secure the site with minimal resistance. However, the lack of complete data prevents full verification of these events. Another report, categorized as speculative within Mechanicus archives, suggests the involvement of a Princeps unit in a conflict against entities exhibiting non-standard physical properties. Observations include references to targets that did not conform to expected biological or mechanical patterns, complicating engagement strategies. Despite these challenges, the Sicarian unit is believed to have adapted its tactics through continuous data analysis, achieving mission objectives under conditions that would have compromised less advanced forces. While such accounts remain unconfirmed, they align with the broader trend observed in documented engagements. The Sicarian Princeps consistently demonstrates the ability to adapt to diverse combat scenarios, leveraging its integrated systems to maintain operational effectiveness. Whether facing human insurgents, Xenos adversaries, or atypical threats, the underlying approach remains focused on efficiency, coordination, and predictive action. Across all recorded conflicts, a common theme emerges. The presence of a Sicarian Princeps transforms the nature of engagement from reactive to proactive. Instead of responding to enemy actions, Princeps-led units impose their own structure on the battlefield, dictating the flow of combat through calculated movement and synchronized strikes. This shift reduces uncertainty and limits the effectiveness of opposing strategies, contributing to consistent mission success. The aftermath of these engagements further reinforces the impact of the Princeps. Battlefield analysis often reveals minimal wasted movement, with unit positioning and engagement sequences optimized to a degree that suggests continuous adjustment throughout the operation. Resource expenditure, including ammunition and energy usage, is typically lower than projected, reflecting the efficiency of coordinated action. In reviewing these documented wars, battles, and conflicts, the Sicarian Princeps emerges not as a singular hero figure, but as a systemic enhancement to Mechanicus warfare. Its contributions are measured in outcomes rather than individual actions, yet those outcomes consistently reflect a level of precision and control that distinguishes Princeps-led operations from all others. The available records, though fragmented and often lacking narrative detail, collectively illustrate a pattern of effectiveness that is both repeatable and adaptable. Through these engagements, the Sicarian Princeps establishes its role as a decisive factor in specialized operations, capable of altering the course of conflict through the application of integrated cognition and coordinated force. Post-engagement records compiled by the Adeptus Administratum and the Adeptus Mechanicus present a consistent pattern in the aftermath of conflicts involving Sicarian Princeps units. These records do not emphasize individual engagements in isolation, but rather evaluate the cumulative impact of Princeps-led operations across multiple campaigns. The focus remains on measurable outcomes, long-term efficiency, and the implications for future deployment strategies. In the immediate aftermath of recorded engagements, battlefield conditions associated with Princeps activity are characterized by structural precision rather than widespread destruction. Damage assessments frequently indicate that hostile forces are neutralized with minimal collateral impact to surrounding infrastructure. This is particularly evident in urban or industrial environments, where the preservation of manufacturer assets and logistical networks is of strategic importance. Administratum surveys note that facilities reclaimed following Princeps-led operations often return to functional status within shorter recovery periods compared to those secured through conventional engagements. Casualty distribution further reflects the efficiency of these operations. Enemy losses are typically concentrated in key positions, suggesting targeted elimination rather than indiscriminate engagement. This pattern aligns with telemetry data, indicating the prioritization of command elements, heavy weapon operators, and critical support units. By removing these targets early in the engagement, the Princeps disrupts the operational coherence of opposing forces, leading to rapid collapse of resistance. Friendly casualty reports remain consistently below projected thresholds. Skitarii units operating under Princeps coordination exhibit reduced exposure to sustained enemy fire, as movement and positioning are continuously optimized to avoid high-risk zones. Administratum comparisons across similar campaigns show that Princeps-led detachments can maintain operational strength over longer periods, reducing the need for reinforcement and replacement. This sustained effectiveness contributes to overall campaign stability, allowing for extended operations without significant degradation of combat capability. Resource expenditure analysis reinforces these observations. Ammunition usage in Princeps-led engagements is typically lower than standard projections, reflecting the precision of targeting and the reduction of redundant fire. Energy consumption, while elevated at the individual unit level due to the Princeps processing requirements, is offset by decreased demand across the broader formation. Supply chain records indicate that fewer resupply cycles are required, resulting in improved logistical efficiency and reduced strain on transport networks. The recovery and analysis of battlefield data constitute a significant component of post-engagement procedures. Mechanicus protocols prioritize the extraction of data from Princeps units, whether active or compromised. This data includes combat telemetry, environmental mapping, and engagement outcomes, all of which are integrated into centralized archives for further study. The volume and detail of this information exceed that obtained from standard units, providing a comprehensive record of battlefield dynamics. Subsequent analysis of these datasets reveals recurring operational patterns. Princeps-led units consistently demonstrate adaptive behavior, adjusting tactics in response to changing conditions without requiring external input. This adaptability is quantified through metrics such as response time variance, engagement success rates, and movement efficiency. Over successive deployments, incremental improvements are observed, suggesting that the integration of accumulated data contributes to ongoing refinement of performance. In cases where Princeps units are lost, the aftermath procedures shift to recovery and reconstruction. Administratum and Mechanicus records indicate that significant resources are allocated to retrieving remaining components and data fragments. Even partial recovery is considered valuable, as it allows for the preservation of operational insights and the identification of failure points. These findings are then incorporated into future designs, reducing the likelihood of similar losses in subsequent deployments. The broader strategic impact of Princeps-led operations is also reflected in campaign outcomes. Administratum summaries often attribute successful resolution of complex engagements to the presence of such units, particularly in scenarios requiring rapid adaptation and precise execution. While not solely responsible for victory, the Princeps is identified as a contributing factor in achieving favourable conditions, enabling other Imperial forces to capitalize on disrupted enemy structures. Mechanicus evaluations extend beyond immediate results to consider the long-term implications of Princeps deployment. Each engagement serves as a practical test of integrated cognition systems, providing data that informs ongoing research into advanced augmentation and command architectures. The success of the Princeps model reinforces the viability of combining human cognitive frameworks with machine-level processing, supporting further investment in similar technologies. However, these evaluations also acknowledge inherent limitations. Post-engagement reports document instances where environmental factors such as electromagnetic interference or extreme conditions impact the stability of command link systems. In such cases, the effectiveness of the Princeps is reduced, though not entirely negated. Units continue to operate, but with diminished coordination, resulting in performance metrics that approach those of standard Skitarii formations. Maintenance requirements following engagements are consistently higher for Princeps units compared to their subordinates. The complexity of their systems necessitates detailed inspection and recalibration, particularly after extended operations or exposure to hostile conditions. Mechanicus records emphasize the importance of adhering to these procedures, noting that neglect can lead to cumulative degradation of performance over time. From the perspective of the Adeptus Administratum, the overall assessment of the Sicarian Princeps is defined by cost efficiency and reliability. Despite the initial investment and ongoing maintenance demands, the long-term benefits in terms of reduced casualties, lower resource consumption, and improved mission success rates justify their continued use. Strategic planning documents increasingly incorporate Princeps units as standard components in operations requiring precision and coordination. The Adeptus Mechanicus, while aligned with these conclusions, places additional emphasis on the technological significance of the Princeps. It is viewed not only as a tool of war, but as a demonstration of the potential inherent in advanced augmentation. Each successful deployment validates the underlying principles of integration and optimization, encouraging further exploration of similar concepts across other domains. In final analysis, the cumulative record of wars and battles involving the Sicarian Princeps supports a consistent conclusion. The integration of command and combat functions within a single entity produces measurable improvements across all key performance indicators. These improvements are not situational, but persist across varied environments and adversary types, indicating a robust and adaptable system. The aftermath of such engagements reveals a pattern of controlled execution, minimized waste, and efficient recovery. These characteristics align closely with the core doctrines of both the Adeptus Administratum and the Adeptus Mechanicus, reinforcing the value of the Princeps within the Imperial war structure. While not without limitations, these are outweighed by the advantages it provides, ensuring its continued role in specialized operations. As data continues to accumulate, the Sicarian Princeps serves as both a benchmark and a foundation for future developments. Its performance informs not only tactical doctrine, but also the broader trajectory of Mechanicus innovation. Through consistent application and analysis, it contributes to an evolving understanding of how best to integrate human and machine elements in the pursuit of optimized warfare. The perspective shared by both institutions is therefore one of measured approval. The Sicarian Princeps is not regarded as an anomaly or an experiment, but as a validated component of Imperial capability. Its continued deployment reflects confidence in its design, while ongoing analysis ensures that its evolution remains aligned with the demands of an ever-changing battlefield. Inquisitorial records concerning the Sicarian Princeps are neither as standardized nor as uniformly analytical as those maintained by the Adeptus Mechanicus or the Adeptus Administratum. While initial entries often mirror the detached, data-oriented tone of Mechanicus archives, extended observations reveal a gradual shift in emphasis. The Inquisition does not limit its interest to measurable output alone. It is equally concerned with deviation, anomaly, and the potential implications of systems that operate at the boundary between human cognition and machine autonomy. Early impressions recorded by Ordo Hereticus and Ordo Xenos observers describe the Sicarian Princeps as an entity that functions within acceptable doctrinal limits, yet consistently approaches thresholds that warrant scrutiny. Reports acknowledge its effectiveness, often citing the same efficiency metrics found in administratum summaries, but these acknowledgements are accompanied by cautionary annotations. The integration of human neural structures with advanced cogitator systems is recognized as a point of potential instability, particularly in relation to doctrines governing the sanctity of the human form and the prohibition of abominable intelligence. Field observations conducted during joint operations provide further insight into these concerns. Inquisitorial agents assigned to monitor Mechanicus detachments note that Princeps-led units exhibit behavior that, while tactically sound, occasionally diverges from expected patterns. These divergences are not immediately attributable to error or malfunction. Instead, they appear as adjustments made without direct external input, based on internal processing that is not fully transparent to outside observers. In several documented instances, Princeps units have altered engagement priorities in ways that were not explicitly ordered by higher command. Targets deemed secondary by initial mission parameters were engaged and neutralized ahead of primary objectives. Subsequent analysis often reveals that these targets possessed characteristics that could have compromised the mission if left unaddressed. While the outcomes validate the decisions, the process by which these decisions are made remains only partially understood. This opacity in decision-making is a recurring theme within Inquisitorial records. Unlike standard Skitarii, whose actions can be traced through clearly defined command chains, the Princeps operates through a combination of directive input and autonomous processing. The extent of this autonomy is difficult to quantify, leading to ongoing debate within Inquisitorial circles regarding its classification. Some observers categorize the Princeps as an advanced extension of human will, fully compliant with Mechanicus doctrine. Others suggest that its level of independent processing approaches a threshold that merits closer examination under existing prescriptions. Unexplainable findings are most frequently associated with data anomalies recorded during and after engagements. In certain cases, telemetry logs recovered from Princeps units contain sequences that do not correspond to any recognized command input or environmental stimulus. These sequences may include brief spikes in processing activity, unexplained data loops, or fragments of code that resist standard decryption methods. Mechanicus authorities typically attribute such anomalies to system noise or corruption resulting from battlefield conditions, yet Inquisitorial analysts often flag them for further investigation. One notable observation involves instances where subordinate Sicarians appear to act in unison without a detectable command signal. While this could be explained by pre-programmed behavioral patterns, the timing and complexity of these actions suggest a level of coordination that exceeds known parameters. Inquisitorial reports describe these moments as resembling a form of distributed awareness, where the unit operates as a single entity without identifiable points of control. Additional accounts reference sensory discrepancies experienced by human observers in proximity to active Princeps units. These include reports of delayed auditory perception, visual misalignment, and difficulty maintaining focus on moving Sicarians. While such effects may be attributed to the speed and precision of their movements, some inquisitorial agents have speculated that the interaction between Princeps command signals and local electromagnetic environments may produce secondary effects not yet fully understood. Encounters with non-standard adversaries provide further context for these observations. In engagements involving entities with atypical biological or energetic properties, Princeps units have demonstrated adaptive responses that appear to exceed their documented capabilities. Inquisitorial records describe scenarios in which engagement strategies shift rapidly, incorporating methods not previously observed in Mechanicus doctrine. These adaptations often result in successful outcomes, yet the mechanisms underlying them remain unclear. It is within these contexts that speculation arises. Some inquisitorial analysts propose that the integration of human cognition with machine processing may produce emergent behaviors, particularly when exposed to complex or unpredictable stimuli. These behaviors, while not indicative of sentience in the prohibited sense, suggest a level of system interaction that is not entirely deterministic. Others argue that such interpretations risk conflating advanced computation with prohibited forms of intelligence, emphasizing the need for caution in drawing conclusions. There are also references, though limited and often heavily redacted, to incidents in which Princeps units exhibited degraded compliance with external command structures. In these cases, units continued to operate effectively within their immediate objectives but showed delayed or partial response to new directives issued by higher authority. Mechanicus explanations typically cite communication interference or localized system overload. Inquisitorial notes, however, often append these explanations with directives for continued monitoring. The relationship between the Inquisition and the Adeptus Mechanicus further complicates the interpretation of these findings. While both institutions serve the Imperium, their priorities and methodologies differ. The Mechanicus emphasizes innovation and optimization within the bounds of its doctrine, while the Inquisition prioritizes the identification and elimination of potential threats, including those that may arise from within imperial systems. As a result, observations of the Sicarian Princeps are often framed within a context of cautious acceptance rather than unqualified approval. Despite these concerns, it is important to note that no conclusive evidence has been presented to classify the Sicarian Princeps as heretical or in violation of imperial law. All recorded anomalies remain within the realm of unexplained phenomena rather than confirmed breaches of doctrine. Inquisitorial actions, therefore, focus on observation and documentation rather than direct intervention. The cumulative impression derived from these records is one of controlled uncertainty. The Sicarian Princeps is recognized as a highly effective component of Mechanicus operations, yet its complexity introduces variables that are not fully accounted for within existing frameworks. This combination of reliability and opacity ensures that it remains a subject of ongoing interest to the Inquisition. Observations continue to be gathered across multiple campaigns, with particular attention given to instances of deviation or anomaly. Each new data point contributes to a growing body of knowledge, though definitive conclusions remain elusive. The nature of the Princeps, situated at the intersection of human and machine, resists simple classification. In this context, the Inquisition maintains a position of vigilance. The Sicarian Princeps is neither condemned nor fully understood. It operates within accepted parameters, yet consistently approaches the limits of those parameters. This proximity to doctrinal boundaries ensures that it remains under observation, its actions recorded and analysed, for any indication of divergence beyond acceptable limits. Through this lens, the Princeps is viewed not only as a tool of war but as a point of inquiry. Its existence raises questions regarding the extent to which human and machine can be integrated without crossing into prohibited territory. While no definitive answers have been established, the continued study of the Sicarian Princeps provides valuable insight into the evolving relationship between cognition, technology, and control within the Imperium. Inquisitorial records that progress beyond initial observation begin to consolidate around specific categories of irregularity. These are not treated as isolated incidents, but as recurring deviations that, while individually inconclusive, collectively suggest patterns not fully accounted for within Mechanicus doctrine. Such records are frequently marked for restricted access, with distribution limited to authorized personnel within relevant ordos. The language becomes increasingly precise, yet also more cautious, reflecting the difficulty in distinguishing between advanced system behavior and potential doctrinal violation. Among the most frequently cited anomalies are irregularities in temporal alignment during active engagements. Several reports describe instances in which Princeps-led units appear to act with a level of anticipation that exceeds predictive modeling. In one documented encounter during a containment action on a hive periphery, Inquisitorial observers recorded that a Sicarian formation altered its trajectory prior to any detectable movement from hostile elements. Subsequent review of sensor logs confirm that the enemy action occurred within a margin of time too narrow to account for conventional reaction, even when factoring in known processing advantages. Mechanicus explanations for such events attribute them to high-efficiency predictive algorithms operating at optimal capacity. However, Inquisitorial analysts note that in certain cases, the degree of accuracy approaches statistical improbability. While not impossible, the consistency of such occurrences across multiple engagements raises questions regarding whether additional, undocumented variables may be influencing decision-making processes. A separate category of anomaly involves disruptions in standard command traceability. Under normal conditions, the actions of Skitarii units can be reconstructed through recorded command signals and data exchanges. In Princeps-led formations, this traceability is occasionally incomplete. There are documented intervals in which subordinate units execute coordinated maneuvers without corresponding command entries in the recovered data logs. These gaps are typically brief, measured in fractions of a second, yet sufficient to obscure the origin of specific actions. One sealed report details an engagement within a derelict void installation, where such a gap coincided with the neutralization of multiple hostile entities positioned in separate compartments. The Sicarians involved executed simultaneous entries and strikes across different access points, achieving complete elimination of targets without recorded command synchronization. The absence of traceable coordination has led to speculation regarding the existence of internal processes within the Princeps network that operate beyond standard recording parameters. Further anomalies are associated with data integrity following engagements. In several cases, recovered Princeps units have contained corrupted or partially overwritten data segments that resist conventional decryption. These segments do not display patterns consistent with known forms of data damage such as electromagnetic interference or physical impact. Instead, they appear as structured sequences lacking recognizable syntax, suggesting either an unknown form of encoding or the presence of data not intended for external interpretation. Mechanicus authorities have generally classified these occurrences as non-critical, citing the absence of operational impairment. Inquisitorial analysts, however, have noted that the frequency of such anomalies increases in environments characterized by high levels of electromagnetic activity or the presence of non-standard energy signatures. While no direct causal relationship has been established, the correlation has prompted continued monitoring. Documented encounters involving atypical adversaries provide additional context for these findings. In engagements against entities exhibiting non-conventional physical or energetic properties, Princeps units have demonstrated adaptive responses that diverge from established tactical patterns. One such encounter, partially redacted within Ordoxenos archives, describes a confrontation with a hostile presence capable of rapid phase shifting across short distances. Standard Skitarii units were unable to maintain consistent engagement, as targets would disengage before effective strikes could be delivered. The introduction of a Princeps-led unit resulted in a measurable change in engagement dynamics. Reports indicate that Sicarians began to intercept targets at points corresponding not to observed positions, but to projected reappearance locations. This adaptation occurred within a limited time frame, suggesting rapid recalibration of predictive models. While the outcome was successful, the speed and specificity of the adjustment exceeded expected parameters based on available data inputs. Another sealed account references an incident during a purge operation within a subterranean complex. Inquisitorial personnel attached to the operation reported intermittent loss of visual clarity when observing the movements of the Sicarian formation. These disturbances were not attributed to environmental conditions or equipment malfunction. Instead, they appeared localized to the area immediately surrounding the Princeps unit. Observers described difficulty maintaining continuous visual tracking, with movements perceived as discontinuous or partially obscured. No corresponding anomalies were detected in Mechanicus sensor logs, leading to divergent interpretations. Some analysts suggest that the effect may result from the interaction between high-frequency data transmissions and local sensory processing, creating a form of perceptual distortion. Others consider the possibility that the phenomenon reflects limitations in human perception when exposed to rapid, highly coordinated movement patterns. The absence of definitive evidence has resulted in the classification of the incident as unresolved. Sealed reports also contain references to deviations in compliance behavior under specific conditions. In one instance, a Princeps unit engaged in a containment operation was issued a directive to withdraw following the achievement of primary objectives. Data logs confirm receipt of the command, yet execution was delayed beyond standard response parameters. During this interval, the unit proceeded to eliminate additional targets not identified in the original mission profile. Post-engagement analysis revealed that these targets were positioned in a manner that could have threatened extraction routes. Mechanicus representatives classified the action as a valid extension of mission parameters, citing the Princeps' capacity for autonomous threat assessment. Inquisitorial annotations, however, emphasize the importance of monitoring such deviations, noting that the distinction between adaptive behavior and unauthorized initiative must be clearly maintained. In rare cases, reports describe encounters in which Princeps units operate in proximity to phenomena that resist conventional classification. These include areas of fluctuating energy signatures, localized distortions in sensor readings, or environments affected by unknown factors. Within these contexts, anomalies in Princeps behavior become more pronounced, though not necessarily detrimental to mission outcomes. One heavily redacted document references a deployment in which a Princeps-led unit maintained operational coherence within an area where standard communication systems experienced intermittent failure. While other units reported loss of coordination, the Sicarian formation continued to execute synchronized maneuvers with minimal disruption. The mechanism by which this continuity was maintained is not detailed within the accessible portions of the report. Speculation surrounding such incidents remains strictly controlled within inquisitorial channels. Phrases such as "it is believed" and "some speculate" appear in marginal annotations, suggesting theories that extend beyond confirmed data. These include the possibility that the integration of human and machine elements within the Princeps may allow for forms of signal processing not fully understood, particularly under conditions that disrupt conventional systems. However, these theories are not presented as established fact and remain subject to ongoing review. The cumulative effect of these anomalies, documented encounters, and sealed reports is not to undermine the effectiveness of the Sicarian Princeps, but to highlight the limits of current understanding. Each irregularity represents a point at which observed behavior diverges from expected models, prompting further investigation. The absence of conclusive explanations ensures that these records remain active within inquisitorial archives. Despite the presence of such anomalies, it is consistently noted that Princeps units achieve their objectives with a high degree of reliability. The irregularities observed do not correlate with mission failure. On the contrary, they often coincide with successful outcomes, complicating efforts to classify them as detrimental. This paradox reinforces the cautious stance adopted by the Inquisition, balancing recognition of effectiveness with the need for continued vigilance. Sealed reports conclude without definitive judgment, reflecting the ongoing nature of analysis. The Sicarian Princeps remains an entity that operates within accepted parameters, while simultaneously exhibiting behaviors that challenge complete comprehension. Its actions are recorded, its anomalies catalogued, and its deployments monitored, ensuring that any deviation beyond acceptable limits can be identified and addressed. In this state of controlled observation, the Princeps occupies a position of both utility and scrutiny. It is a proven asset, yet also a subject of inquiry, its full nature not entirely resolved within the frameworks available to those who study it. The final body of inquisitorial material concerning the Sicarian Princeps is contained within classified files that consolidate long-term observation, anomaly tracking, and internal debate. These documents are not widely circulated and often exist in fragmented form across multiple ordos. What emerges from their aggregation is not a singular conclusion, but a structured attempt to define boundaries around an entity that consistently operates near the limits of doctrinal certainty. Within these files, the Princeps is categorized as a controlled variable rather than a resolved subject. Its continued use is permitted under the assumption of Mechanicus compliance, yet its behavior is monitored under conditions typically reserved for assets with uncertain classification. This dual status reflects a measured approach. The Inquisition does not move to restrict or eliminate the Princeps, but neither does it fully accept the Mechanicus assertion that its function is entirely understood and contained. Classified observations focus heavily on long-duration deployment patterns. Over extended operational timelines, certain Princeps units demonstrate subtle divergence in processing behavior. These divergences are not abrupt and do not manifest as immediate malfunctions. Instead, they appear as gradual shifts in decision weighting, target prioritization, and engagement sequencing. In isolation, such changes fall within acceptable margins of adaptive behavior. When tracked across multiple engagements, however, they form identifiable trends. One such trend involves increasing reliance on preemptive engagement. While predictive action is a core function of the Princeps, some units exhibit a tendency to prioritize projected threats over confirmed objectives with greater frequency than baseline models suggest. This behavior often results in successful neutralization of potential risks before they materialize, reinforcing its tactical value. At the same time, it introduces a degree of operational autonomy that exceeds initial design expectations. Another pattern identified within sealed analyses is the emergence of what inquisitorial scholars describe as data persistence irregularities. Certain fragments of combat telemetry appear to recur across separate deployments, even when the operational context differs significantly. These fragments are not identical, but they share structural similarities that suggest the retention and reapplication of prior engagement models beyond standard data integration protocols. Mechanicus representatives attribute this to iterative learning processes embedded within the Princeps systems. Inquisitorial review does not dispute this explanation, but notes that the persistence of such patterns raises questions regarding the limits of acceptable machine adaptation. The distinction between refinement and independent evolution remains a central point of concern, though no definitive threshold has been established. Further classified material addresses instances of Princeps behavior under conditions of extreme environmental disruption. In scenarios where conventional communication networks degrade or collapse entirely, certain Princeps units maintain partial coordination with subordinate elements. This coordination is not consistent with standard command link mechanisms, leading to speculation regarding alternative forms of signal propagation or internal synchronization. It is explicitly stated within these files that such observations do not constitute evidence of prohibited intelligence. However, The absence of a clear explanatory model ensures that these incidents remain under active review. The Inquisition's position emphasizes that unknown mechanisms, even when beneficial, must be understood within the framework of imperial law and doctrine. Sealed testimonies from Inquisitorial observers provide additional qualitative context. These accounts, while secondary to data-driven analysis, offer insight into the experiential aspects of Princeps proximity. Observers consistently report a sense of detachment when operating alongside these units, describing their presence as functionally precise, yet devoid of the variability associated with human command. This perception is not treated as evidence of anomaly, but is noted as a factor influencing interaction between Imperial forces. In rare cases, observers describe moments in which the Princeps appears to delay action for durations measured in fractions of a second, despite the availability of clear engagement opportunities. These pauses are not sufficient to compromise mission success and are often followed by highly effective actions. The cause of these delays is not identified, though they are recorded as deviations from expected continuous processing behavior. The relationship between these micro-delays and broader patterns of adaptation remains speculative. Some inquisitorial analysts suggest that they may represent internal recalibration processes, moments in which the Princeps reconciles incoming data with stored models. Others consider the possibility that such pauses indicate thresholds within the system, where competing directives or projections require resolution before action can proceed. Classified files also address the potential for cumulative effect. While individual anomalies are minor, their aggregation over extended periods introduces the possibility of emergent behavior that cannot be predicted through linear analysis. This concern does not imply inevitability but underscores the importance of sustained observation. The Inquisition's approach is therefore preventative, seeking to identify early indicators of divergence before they reach a level of operational significance. It is within this context that monitoring protocols are established. Princeps units are not isolated or restricted, but their deployments are logged with increased scrutiny. Data from each engagement is cross-referenced against prior records, with particular attention given to deviations in established patterns. Mechanicus cooperation in this process is acknowledged, though the extent of data sharing varies depending on Forge World and internal policy. Final assessments contained within these classified documents avoid definitive conclusions. Instead, they articulate a position grounded in conditional acceptance. The Sicarian Princeps is recognized as a valuable and effective component of imperial warfare, its contribution supported by extensive evidence. At the same time, its complexity and the presence of unresolved anomalies necessitate continued oversight. The Inquisition does not classify the Princeps as a threat. It classifies it as an entity operating at the boundary of current understanding. This distinction is critical. It allows for continued utilization while preserving the authority to intervene should evidence of doctrinal violation emerge. From a broader perspective, the Princeps represents a convergence point between two enduring Imperium dynamics. The Adeptus Mechanicus pursues advancement through integration and optimization, pushing the limits of what can be achieved through the union of human and machine. The Inquisition, by contrast, exists to ensure that such pursuits do not cross into forbidden territory. The interaction between these priorities is reflected in the ongoing evaluation of the Princeps. In final consideration, the Sicarian Princeps is neither fully resolved nor fully questioned. It exists within a state of monitored acceptance, its actions validated by results yet examined for implications beyond immediate outcomes. Its continued deployment suggests confidence in its utility, while its continued observation reflects an awareness that utility alone does not define compliance. The classified perspective concludes with an emphasis on vigilance without interference. The Princeps is to be observed, its data recorded, its anomalies catalogued, and its evolution tracked. Should it remain within established parameters, it will continue to serve as an asset of considerable value. Should it diverge, the structures required to respond are already in place. In this balance between trust and scrutiny, the Inquisition defines its stance. The Sicarian Princeps is permitted, effective, and incomplete in its understanding. It is not an endpoint, but an ongoing subject of record, its true limits yet to be fully determined within the ever-expanding scope of Imperial knowledge.